Hey guys, Pierce here, that guy on an Africa Twin. I've had a couple requests about the bike. People were wondering what the setup was and what I've done to it. So I figured I'd put a little video together to show you guys what I've done that was both on purpose and accidental. Here we go. So we'll start with the engine. I haven't done a whole lot to the bike. I have uni filters on. I quite like the filter and cage design. They are cleanable and re-oilable, and I have not noticed any dirt inside the airbox anytime I've done a filter check or change. The only other thing is I have the 12 O'Clock Labs Speedo DRD, which allows me to basically take whatever RPM from the output shaft and match it up so that my speedometer is actually accurate, as opposed to the, I think it was 7% or so off that it came from factory. Next up, we've got the cockpit. I haven't done a whole lot as far as ergonomics changes. These are still the stock bars. They've worked quite well for me. I haven't noticed any obvious wrinkling or bends in them. I used to run the Rocks risers. Excellent product. However, I did find that even with them flipped forward, it was pulling me too far up and back and out of a really good attack position for this bike. So I'm back to the stock height, just with the bars rolled forward. I've made my own removable or adjustable mirrors. These are ram arms. These are the stock mirrors that I've modified on the ends here. They work quite well, and most of the time I ended up just pulling the mirrors anyways. I got Cycra Pro Bend handguards. They've been quite excellent. The ABS on them, incredibly durable. It's been really great. And the aluminum on them has not buckled once. Same thing. Very durable product. Really great. I also have a giant loop handlebar bag. Unfortunately, on my bike, I haven't found a way to be able to flip it. There's just not enough space in here. So I mount it forwards. It's not ideal, but it carries things like, granola bar, earplugs, those little things that I just don't want to go searching through my backpack for. I got a quad lock mount, so I run the phone in a landscape orientation, because I think, to me, that works a little better when I'm trying to look at the map as opposed to a portrait view. And then I do have a 12-volt outlet, not a USB, because I have a little air compressor that is very handy when I don't want to use my hand pump. And that way I can just put in the adapter to a USB if I want to charge stuff as well. On the front end, I'm running the D908. It's not a tire that I have been able to find since. I got it as a discount and a discontinuation online, but it's been really superb. I'm not sure off the top of my head how much mileage I've got on it, but it's more than you would expect for this aggressive of a tire. I've also got the Camel ADV high fender kit. I'm quite happy with it. The only problem I've had is, and I just moved this, but this brake line actually ended up popping in, and it was rubbing on the tire every time that the suspension would move. It wasn't enough to cause any damage because it was very brief, but until I ended up moving these, and I haven't been able to test it since, I ended up tying a little loop of paracord up to the fork guard here so that it just wouldn't pop in. And I haven't really designed another workaround, so I'm hoping this works just like this. Now the suspension is resprung for me, so I have K-Tech springs for my weight, and I'm also running a 10 weight oil in the fork. I believe it's 5 weight is stock, and honestly, it's night and day, the difference. It's quite amazing. The bike sits quite a bit higher, and I do have a little O-ring sitting on the stanchion, and I believe since I did the fluid and spring change, I've not bottomed the forks once, and I would bottom them 2 or 3 times in a ride very easily. As you can see, my crash bars have been thoroughly tested, and keen-eyed observers will see that there's a color difference. These lower engine bars here are actually my second set because I ended up pancaking the first set just from repeated damage. Unfortunately, they just outlived their life, but I would say overall these Outback Motortech bars have been superb and have well withstood pretty well all the abuse that I've thrown at them. I do, however, have an SW Motec skid plate. That's mostly because I just got a really good deal at the dealership, and it didn't take much modification just to make them fit in a couple spots with the bars. Not a big deal. Got a nice little lanyard here. Helps if I have someone with me to help pull, because sometimes pushing all by yourself is not a whole lot of fun. I do have this aftermarket brake pedal here, the trigger pedal. Mostly I got the aftermarket because, again, I actually broke the stock one and it just didn't work for me anymore. This one has a spring-loaded tip here, which I really like, and it is significantly beefier than the stock one. And then I also added a length of 100-pound test cable, and that's just to help, A, if there's a branch that comes in, hopefully it'll deflect it, and B, it just adds some lateral rigidity so that hopefully I don't bend this one out. I'm just running a nice cheap set of, they're both, what are they, the XR650L and Honda Africa Twin foot pegs. This is my second set because I actually ripped off, or I didn't rip it off, but in one of the races, I had a dirt bike pass me as I pulled off, and he actually tore the foot peg itself apart. And then he mangled underneath here the mount that I had made, because this is not the aluminum one from stock. This is the steel one from the 2018 and 19 years of the Africa Twin. And then I just modified the actual perch for the foot peg to accommodate the 16 and 17 foot pegs, because I just like to do things a little more difficultly. I have not had an opportunity to test it. This is brand new, so hopefully everything works. The welds held up pretty well on the last one, but this one's just significantly thicker material-wise. The only other change back here is I don't have the plastic guard on the exhaust, and that's just because I tore it off. Plus, it also gets in the way for the heel of your boot, I find, so I prefer having it there. And it's now significantly lower profile, but I still get a cover over the exhaust, so I'm not having an exposed exhaust to melt my boot off or anything. On the back end, suspension-wise, I've also had it resprung, and I had it revalved at the local suspension shop, Rider's Edge. Unfortunately, I haven't noticed a huge difference, and after a 2-hour race, the fluid was definitely cooked, so I'm currently looking for a new shock. I think I found one, but I haven't committed to anything yet, so we'll see what's out there, and hopefully I can do a nice little review of a new shock in the coming while. On the back end here, I have my racks that I actually built myself. I modeled them after the Outback Motortech racks. At the time, a few years ago, I couldn't find any symmetrical racks for the bike, and I'm a real big fan of symmetry. I did borrow a couple of design features, like having the loop go over top here. Mostly I liked how the Outback Motortechs were designed, and I thought they were a real good product. They just didn't work for me. I'm running the Moscow Moto 25 Scout bags, which are incredibly durable. If you can swing it, I think Moscow Moto makes some of the best luggage out there. Granted, I haven't tried a whole lot of other brands. Well, that's the bike. Hope you guys liked the video. If you guys got any questions, drop it in the comments. Feel free to hit like and subscribe while you're there. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.